you prepare. We cover common .NET interview questions from C# to ASP.NET to Azure. Clear and concise answers, easy to understand whether you are new to .NET or have experience. This guide gives you the confidence to succeed. Let's get started. The foundation of .NET. C# is a powerful, versatile language that forms the backbone of the .NET framework. Mastering it is essential for any developer looking to excel in the .NET ecosystem. C# is the core language for .NET. Expect many C# questions in interviews and exams. Understanding its syntax and features is crucial. Here are some common ones. These questions often test your fundamental understanding and ability to apply C# concepts in real-world scenarios. What is the difference between a class and an object? This is a foundational question that every C# developer should be able to answer. A class is a blueprint. It defines the structure and behavior that the objects created from the class will have. An object is an instance of a class. It is created based on the blueprint provided by the class and can have its own unique data. Explain the difference between value types and reference types. This distinction is crucial for understanding how data is managed in memory. Value types hold data directly. They are stored in the stack, which makes them faster to access but limited in size. Reference types hold references to data. They are stored in the heap, which allows for larger data storage but can be slower to access. What are the different access modifiers in C#? Access modifiers control the visibility and accessibility of classes, methods, and other members. Public, private, protected, internal, and protected, internal. Each modifier serves a specific purpose in controlling access to code. What is the difference between a for loop and a for-each loop? These loops are fundamental for iterating over collections and executing code multiple times. Use a for loop when you know the number of iterations. It is ideal for scenarios where the iteration count is predetermined. Use a for-each loop to iterate over a collection. It's best for scenarios where you need to access each element in a collection without. Navigating ASP.NET MVC, building web applications. ASP.NET MVC is a popular framework for building web applications. Here are some key questions. Explain the MVC architecture. Model view controller. Separates application concerns. What are the different types of action results in MVC? View result, partial view result, redirect result, and more. What are filters in ASP.NET MVC? Attributes that modify the behavior of action methods or controllers. How does routing work in ASP.NET MVC? Maps incoming URLs to specific controller action. Exploring ASP.NET Core. Modern web development include what are the advantages of ASP.NET Core over ASP.NET MVC? Cross-platform, improved performance, open source. Explain dependency injection in ASP.NET Core. Provides dependencies to classes, loose coupling and testability. What is middleware in ASP.NET Core? Components that handle HTTP requests and responses. How does configuration work in ASP.NET Core? Uses various providers to load config. Include what is link? Language integrated, query. Query data from various sources. Explain the difference between link to objects and link to SQL. Objects in memory objects, SQL databases. What are lambda expressions in link? Anonymous functions, concise, write and understand queries. Section 7, diving into ADO.NET. Database interactions. ADO.NET is the low-level way to work with databases. Know these fundamentals. What are the main components of ADO.NET? Connection command, data reader, dataset. Explain the difference between connected and disconnected architectures. Connected open connection, disconnected data cached locally. What are stored procedures? Precompiled SQL statements stored in the database. How do you handle exceptions in ADO.NET? Try-catch blocks, proper error handling. Simplifying data access. In this section, we will delve into how Entity Framework can streamline your data access processes, making your development workflow more efficient and less error-prone. Entity Framework is an ORM, or Object Relational Mapper. This powerful tool allows developers to work with a database using net objects, eliminating the need for most of the data access code that developers usually need to write. It makes database interaction easier by mapping objects to database tables. Key questions to consider. What is an ORM? An ORM simplifies data manipulation by allowing you to interact with your database using the same language you use for your application code. Well, an ORM, or Object Relational Mapper, maps objects to database tables. This means you can work with your data in a more intuitive and object-oriented way, rather than dealing with complex SQL queries. Now let's explain the difference between code-first and database-first approaches in Entity Framework. These two approaches offer flexibility depending on your project needs and existing infrastructure. Code-first means that the code defines the model. This approach is particularly useful when starting a new project from scratch, as it allows you to define your database schema through your code. Whereas database-first means that the database defines the model. This is ideal for projects where the database already exists, and you need to generate the code based on the existing database schema. What is the DB context in Entity Framework? The DB context is a crucial part of Entity Framework. It acts as a bridge between your domain or entity classes and the database. The DB context manages database interaction, including tracking changes and querying data. It keeps track of all the changes that need to be made to the database and ensures that these changes are applied correctly, including tracking changes and querying data. This means you can easily retrieve and manipulate data without writing complex SQL queries, making your development process more efficient. And how do you handle relationships between entities in Entity Framework? You use navigation properties. These properties allow you to navigate from one entity to another, reflecting the relationships defined in your database schema, and the Fluent API for more complex relationships. The Fluent API provides a powerful way to configure your entity classes and their relationships, offering greater control and flexibility over how your data is structured and accessed. Section 9. Exploring the cloud with Azure Net in the cloud. Azure is Microsoft's cloud platform, and .NET developers use Azure extensively. Be prepared to discuss what are the different Azure services commonly used with .NET applications. These include App Service, Azure Functions, and Azure SQL Database. What are the benefits of deploying .NET applications to Azure? Well, they include scalability, reliability, and cost-effectiveness. Explain the different Azure storage options. These options are blob storage, queue storage, and table storage. And how do you secure .NET applications deployed to Azure? You can use Azure Active Directory and API Control Essentials. In this section, we'll delve into the core concepts and practices that make Git an indispensable tool for developers. Git is essential for software development. Expect questions about its fundamental principles and practical applications. What is version control and why is it important? Version control is a system that records changes to a file or set of files over time so that you can recall specific versions later. Version control tracks changes to code, facilitating collaboration, maintaining history, and allowing rollback. This is crucial for teams working on the same project as it helps manage contributions and resolve conflicts. Explain the difference between Git and GitHub. Git is a distributed version control system that allows developers to track changes in their code base. GitHub, on the other hand, is a web-based platform that hosts Git repositories, providing a graphical interface and additional features like issue tracking and collaboration tools. What are the basic Git commands? These include git init to initialize a repository, git clone to copy a repository, git add to stage changes, git commit to save changes, git push to upload changes to a remote repository, and git pull to fetch and merge changes from a remote repository. And what are branches in Git and how are they used? Branches are a powerful feature in Git that allow you to diverge from the main line of development and continue to work without affecting that main line. Branches isolate work on features or bug fixes, allowing you to merge changes later. This makes it easier to manage different lines of development and collaborate with team members without interfering with each other's work. Interviews requires preparation. Understand the core concepts and practice your answers. This guide provided a starting point, but you should dig deeper into each topic. Research and practice are key. With effort and the right mindset, you can ace your next net interview. Good luck.